Hello, Cancer. This is your astrological and card forecast for the week starting October 2nd, 2016. And this also applies to you, Cancer moons and Cancer risings out there. Hello to you as well. This week, we have a fair share of squares going on in the astrology charts. And one of the things that I find interesting about squares is that they tend to provide, I guess you could say, a gift that's a little bit rough around the edges. That's what I've been saying to everybody. And that's important to remember when these kinds of weeks happen. You know, because sometimes folks have a tendency to do the split thing, where it's kind of like, oh no, it's got a rough edge. It's only 95% perfect. It might as well be 0% perfect. And that is so not a good idea. And when we have these energies, it's important to be able to heed the call to action of what's going on. Be ready for the challenge and accept it. Maybe even enjoy it, because again, usually squares come with the best payoff. And this week we've got two. We've got Mars forming a square to Jupiter, Tuesday and Wednesday, between your 7th house of committed partnerships and your 4th house of home and family. Now, whenever Jupiter's involved, it's usually okay. It's usually something that is very, very easy to cope with. And when we have Mars forming a square between the 7th house and the 4th house, there could be some issues coming up on the home front as it relates to a close one-on-one relationship that we have. We could be noticing that there may be some squabbling going on between a partner and a relative, or maybe even some issues going on the home front if you are with a roommate or, or a live-in partner. However, the nice thing about this, again, is because Jupiter is involved in this square, we really don't have to have a big deal about this. In fact, this usually has a lot to do with being able to find a way to please everybody by allowing everyone to get pleased. If you've ever noticed that sometimes it's like, you can't please everybody because everybody is not happy if everyone's happy. Have you ever had that kind of situation happening where it's kind of like, well, I can't enjoy it because it doesn't seem like they didn't learn their lesson, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, luckily, this isn't necessarily happening to you specifically. In fact, you're probably one of the only people in the zodiac who has a choice not to participate in this energy. But again, I definitely urge you, see that all sides' needs are met. And if other people are not satisfied because somebody else seems happy too, you know what? That's their problem, not yours. Later on in the week, we do have the Sun in the 4th house of home and family forming a square to Pluto in the 7th house of partnerships. And this is a little bit different because when the Sun and when Pluto come to clash, usually this indicates important information that needs to be shared, but it's just been kind of kept under wraps for too long, and it may come as a bit of a shock in the beginning. And this could have to do with finding out where a relative and a partner or a relative and a close friend aren't as comfortable or as chummy with each other as you thought. Now, the important thing that you can do is not take this personally, okay? If you find out a relative and a partner are, they're just not seeing eye to eye, or you find out your partner has, kind of had a different opinion of a relative of yours and vice versa, nobody is making it about you, making it your fault, or making it your responsibility. So the last thing you want to do is give yourself the stress of volunteering that. Just allow things, again, to be as peaceful as possible. So what's going on with your cards? Well, we do have the card of bliss as far as your spiritual advice. And again, it's focusing on, staying content and realizing when things just really aren't your business. And usually with the bliss card, it's kind of saying, this week we can avoid a lot where, as long as we are not trying to, over-volunteer ourselves for situations that really aren't our responsibility to fix. Because the bliss card can talk about a need to stay in a place where it's kind of like, okay, you be the peacekeeper, but you're peacekeeping a space, not people. All right, and people have a choice to go into that peaceful space, or they have a choice to go into another space. But this week, it's important to understand where you don't need to be dragged in to any of it. For your Earth sector, when it comes to your work and finances, we do have the 6 of Pentacles upright. Wonderful card because this can indicate a yes answer. This is one of the very few cards in the tarot deck that does actually indicate a yes or a cut and dry yes or no answer. And this could be to a request that you have made at the office if you've been trying to take off time at work, renegotiate a salary, renegotiate a benefits package. This could also be a yes answer for those of you who are trying to get hired, trying to get somebody to take a chance on you. And on that term, on that topic of people taking a chance on you, if you're trying to get any kind of approval for a loan or maybe even a line of credit, a mortgage, or, or get something lended to you or invested into a work that you're doing, trying to drum up some venture capital, this yes card, the Six of Pentacles, does indicate that assistance is coming your way. For your communications with air, when it comes to messages you get from friends and relatives and the others, we have the Knight of Cups inverted. I don't even know if you can see that because it's so bright. I'm still working on the light situation in my new place. And with the Knight of Cups inverted, this card can indicate that there may be some problems with somebody trying to overcompensate with their insecurities by kind of crowding you. Sometimes people try and get on our good side a little bit too much. They try really hard to get on our good side in a way that is intrusive. It's smothering. It's, and they're really kind of wanting just to, they're trying to make sure that you like them. They're trying to make sure that you care about them. And this person is just doing it, again, a little bit too much, to the point where it's actually hurting their own cause. And I think that this week it's going to be important to kind of have a bit of a sit down and be like, look, everything's cool. Everything's cool. Now, whether or not they can accept that everything's cool is on them. But I feel like what's going to happen here is, like, again, this person is kind of, hurting their own cause by being this smothering this week. And so it's just important to make sure that they understand that it's unnecessary. For your challenge this week with fire, we do have the High Priestess upright. And when it comes to this card, it's basically saying, Cancer, the High Priestess usually talks about a need to maintain one's own sense of true independence and making sure that you can follow your own good advice, but also at the same time not allowing other people to undermine that sense of independence or enlisting or conscripting people to maintain that independence for you. This card can often show up as a challenge when we need to pay attention to where too many cooks are spoiling the soup, and it's very important to, to know when it is okay, necessary, and very well advised to go our own way. The High Priestess can also talk about a need to open up and share unfiltered truth, not unfiltered opinion, truth to people when we are, when it's time to kind of nip something in the bud. The High Priestess, she doesn't mince words, she doesn't hide herself in that sense. And so it's time for you to kind of be a little bit more open and pay attention to where, where we think we're being polite when actually we're completely caving in. For your emotions with water and your romantic life, we do have the Knight of Wands inverted. This week can present a bit of a hot and cold when it comes to love and romance. And, hot and cold can often, bring a lot of mixed messages along with that. And usually with the Knight of Wands inverted, it has a lot to do with people kind of getting sucked into that whirlwind, binge and purge kind of mentality. And this might be something that kind of throws you off a little bit, or, throws off a partner if you're self-aware and you kind of notice maybe you tend to do that too. With a new romantic partner, it's important to very much, in a lot of ways, kind of like another sign I did a reading for, learn to portion out quality time. So it's not, feast or famine. Because sometimes, during that feast, we eat up all that available energy, and then people do burn out on each other. When it comes to those of you who are currently coupled, the Knight of Wands inverted is saying your partner's going to be kind of developing, a bit of an ungrounded behavior this week where it just seems like they can't actually finish whatever they start. And helping them get grounded is absolutely going to be necessary, but pay attention to what is consistent in the words that they're speaking and the actions they're performing. There is consistency that's going to be going on there. And considering the astrology, it may feel weird to be kind of looking at what is and is not true, but there are things that will not change. So don't let yourself get confused. Focus on what stays consistent. So that is your forecast, Cancer. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. You know I appreciate it. And of course, if you'd like to get a session, you can always follow the links below or go to integrativemysticism.com.